This video explains the learning gained from Adult E, Safeguarding Adult Review. At the time of the SAR, Adult E was a male in his 70s. He was married until 2008 and then lived alone since then. In the same year, Adult E sustained a head injury after a fall. Due to the head injury, Adult E required a brief period of care in a residential home until he was well enough to return home, where Adult E was supported by his two sisters. Both sisters had raised concerns about their brother's physical and mental health, low mood, alcohol consumption, and deteriorating health with a number of agencies, including his GP, adult care, GMP, home care, and district nursing. In the sisters' feedback to the reviewer, they felt their brother was embarrassed to talk about his personal care needs and would rather talk about anything else rather than address questions about this. They felt he would accept care to stop conversations, and then dismiss the care offered, stating to staff that his sisters would help him, or he would do it later, when in reality his sisters were unable to help due to their own commitments, and there was evidence to demonstrate that Adult E would not do what he said he was going to. During the period prior to 2019, practitioners who visited Adult E's home noted that there was a strong, unpleasant smell in the house. Adult E was unkempt, clothes that appeared threadbare and heavily soiled. His left foot was swollen with an open wound underneath. Adult E was unaware of the wound. He was also reported to have pressure ulcers, and one sister suggested this was due to him not moving from his chair and urinating where he sat. She reported him to be struggling with mobility and getting upstairs to the toilet. His sister felt that he was becoming depressed and was unable to complete tasks due to his health. In June 2019, Adult E's self-neglect increased significantly, which resulted in the Northwest Ambulance Service submitting 4 safeguarding referrals to the local authority between June and October. On the 21st of October, Adult E was admitted to hospital after the ambulance service attended his home and found his clothing stuck to his skin and his sofa rotting away underneath him. When finally admitted to hospital, Adult E was found to have significant untreated pressure ulcers to his sacrum and back, as well as infection of his skin. It seemed unlikely at the time that he would survive. However, Adult E recovered from injuries after 55 days in hospital and was later admitted to a nursing home. He resides there under a local authority authorized DOLS. His sisters visit him regularly, and his pressure ulcers have healed. Adult E was referred to adult care 6 times in 4 months, but not all contacts were recorded as safeguarding concerns. This means that there wasn't always multi-agency safeguarding procedures initiated. As a result, the referrer was not notified of the outcome of the safeguarding referrals. The Multi-Agency Risk Management Protocol provides practitioners with a framework for effective multi-agency working with adults who are deemed to have mental capacity and who are at risk of serious harm or death through self-neglect, risk-taking behavior, or refusal of services. The protocol supports the management of these complex cases where, despite ongoing work, serious risks are still seen. Any agency can initiate an MRM meeting. The protocol also provides a mechanism for review and re-evaluation of the plan. MRM can be used where there is documented evidence that an adult refuses to engage with the Section 4-2 safeguarding process, and where evidence suggests they are at risk of serious harm or death. Some examples of cases where MRM may be applicable are where adult is unable or unwilling to care for themselves and or their environment, including hoarding, refuses essential services, fails to protect self from abuse by a third party. These examples include where usual adult safeguarding processes are not applicable or sufficient to mitigate or eradicate the risk. If the adult does not have mental capacity, the MRM process is not appropriate and best interest decision-making processes should be followed. However, if there is doubt about the capacity of the individual, then the MRM process can be followed, but only when it is established that an individual does not have capacity. Consent for holding an MRM risk action planning meeting should be obtained from the adult wherever possible, and the adult should be encouraged to participate in the MRM process. However, a lack of consent does not prevent a MRM risk action planning meeting from taking place. The reviewer stated, capacity is a complex attribute, involving not only the ability to understand the consequences of a decision, but also the ability to execute the decision. Where decisional capacity is not accompanied by executive capacity, the overall capacity for autonomous action is impaired. Best interest intervention by professionals to safeguard well-being may be legitimate. Yet executive capacity does not routinely figure in capacity assessments. There is a risk that its absence may not be recognized. There is also concern that capacity assessments may overlook the function-specific nature of capacity, with the result that apparent capacity to make simple decisions is assumed in relation to more complex ones. Guidance for functional tests may revolve around practitioners asking reflective questions during assessment. Does the person have a general understanding of what decision they need to make, and why they need to make it, and likely consequences of making or not making this decision? Is the person able to retain the information long enough to make a decision? Is the person able to use and weigh up the information relevant to this decision? Can the person communicate their decision? Consider the use of nonverbal communication, such as using sign language or body language. You can legitimately conclude that a person lacks capacity to make a decision if they do not understand that they cannot implement in practice what they say they will do in assessment. You can only reach such a finding where there is clearly documented evidence of repeated mismatch. This means that it is very unlikely ever to be right to reach a conclusion that the person lacked capacity for this reason on the basis of one assessment alone. When visiting Adult E and requests were made to examine his sacrum, and he refused, there is little evidence of further professional curiosity or documented assessment of his mental capacity by them to assess whether he had the capacity to understand the risk of damage to his skin. The GP who made the home visit in June 2019 noted a possible scratch mark and possible pressure ulcers, but took no action to actually review Adult E's skin. The application of professional curiosity is fundamental in situations where executive functioning is questioned. Professional curiosity means to gather evidence from a wide range of sources and then interrogate the evidence. What are the gaps in evidence gathered? Why is this important? Who can I gather further evidence from? When I'm on site, is the evidence aligning to the evidence I'm reading? Only then should a conclusion be formulated. The SAR report shows that only one agency, involved in the care of Adult E, shared their formal assessment of his mental capacity. The conclusion of this assessment was that he had capacity and had consented to have changes made to his home environment and to try care and support agency. Given that Adult E had previously agreed to have support at home, but only engaged with this for very short periods of time, it would have been appropriate to revisit Adult E's mental capacity more frequently. This SAR highlights the importance of respectful challenge or professional curiosity when an individual who is clearly self-neglecting makes responses that all the physical evidence before the staff member clearly contradicts. Staff should have the confidence to ask the individual to explain and physically demonstrate how they or others are meeting their care needs. Corroboration of support should be sought from their family or carers and be documented. Adult E demonstrated frequently that he would agree to have care support, but then repeatedly failed to engage with this, stating he did not need this and was okay. If executive capacity had been considered, Adult E could be found to lack mental capacity in the months prior to hospital admission. For the full Adult E report, please visit the Rochdale Safeguarding website at www.rochdalesafeguarding.org.